So today I've got my hands on this 2005 Seat Ibiza. I must say it's not a very complicated car. It was built in an era where VW were cheating emission tests and EU regulations on cars weren't so tight. What a time. This car here is probably the last of the reliable VW products, and I'm here to explain why. First off though, I want to give a big shout out to the owner of this car. Like usual, I'll leave their handles in the description box below. Make sure to go give them a follow. And if you do have any questions about Ibiza ownership, make sure to give them a message as well. Moving on, the last year Ibiza review I did got 17,000 views. I guess people really do love these cars. And I'll be honest, I really don't blame you. The main iconic piece about the Mark III Seat Ibiza is the engine, because it has the PD 130 1.9 TDI, and the PDs back in the day were known for its extreme reliability. The engines were widely used in Audi A3s, Golfs, Skoda Fabias, and many other VW Group products, also the Seat Leon as well, because they would last for absolutely ages. You still see these types of cars on the road with at least 500,000 miles on the clock. However, that being said, just because the engine's great doesn't mean the whole car is good as well. So for example, product quality starts to creep in. The exterior panels here is starting to rust. This car's only done 109,000 miles. It should not show these types of problems. Next up, exterior styling. What do I really think? Well, it's not the most attractive thing to look at, if I'm honest. It has like a soft, harmless look to it. But at the time of 2005, you really didn't have much other choices. A Fiesta was probably on your list. However, were you really going to choose style over substance? And now let's move on to the interior and check how dated this looks. Doesn't it remind you of the early 2000s? By far the simplest interior design, so easy to use and intuitive. This car only had the necessities and pretty much everything you needed back then, nothing extra, as it was just a little simple hatchback, which I quite like. An interesting feature this car has are these manual adjustable mirrors. It's placed right next to your door locks and it looks like an electronic mechanism. However, it's not, it's just a toggle. Very neat and pretty clever engineering. Another interesting feature this car has are these Porsche-esque cup holders. Unfortunately, it's supposed to come out the dash, but it's broken. Classic VW quality. But I wish more modern cars had this feature, because everything's just filled up with an infotainment screen nowadays. As for the rear seats, well, this car actually comes as a 5-seater. Yes, I know, 3-door car, 5 seats. It's going to be a struggle. So even with the front seat in its normal position, in fact, the front seat won't even click into place, I am struggling with leg room. I don't know how you're going to fit 2 other people in the back of here when I'm struggling with just literally 1 person. So if there's any Seat Ibiza owners out there, please tell everyone that you only have 3 additional seats, not 4. So now let's go for a little drive in the 2005 Seat Ibiza. And the first 3 things I love about this car is, number 1, very cheap to insure, although car tax is around 150 quid, but we can forget about that. Number 2, it's a very cheap car overall. I mean, you can find these for around grand and a half, and that's a lot of car for the money. And the third thing is that it will never break down. This car is really reliable, especially the PD engines. They could clock up loads of miles, like 300, 400 easy if you do maintain them properly. Production ran from 2002 to 2008, and in between Seat came up with some stupid additions. So for example, a DAB edition means it's got a DAB radio. Pointless edition. In terms of MPG, as well as having a really reliable engine, it does not burn any fuel, especially the diesels. In the Audi A3 you had the PD 150 as well, the 130, and they would never ever burn any fuel. You could go on for absolutely ages, you could probably get 60, 70 to the gallon easy. The suspension is extremely firm. I'm sure the older people probably would not like that, but if you are of a younger generation, probably be in your favour. The ride height though is horrendous. I'm sitting way too high. The steering wheel, complete crud, very cheap, and I don't know why. Ride ride height concerns me the most out of them three, because even from an exterior point of view, the wheel and the arch, there's such a big gap and it looks a bit wrong. In terms of handling, I do feel like this car will understeer a lot most of the time. There's no clever, you know, setup underneath, probably just a beam, you know, classic VW cheaping out. But it's, I mean, main use of this car is probably for deliveries, and that's what the owner does do in it, hence why it's racked up all the miles. Although this is probably considered a low mileage car, 110,000 miles. That's not a lot for, what, a 15-year-old car? I mean, this car, whilst driving it, is so simple. There's only about 4 odd vents, but I could feel every single bump. It's so funny. I really do like the dials as well on it. It's still clear, even to this day, even, you know, as a 2020 standpoint. The interior is very similar, if not just a slight bit of change from the similar years that the Golf and the Audis came out. Even this Mark 1 Leon as well, it's very similar. I can see some parts stolen, like the cup holder feature thing that comes out. That's in the Mark 1 Leon. And some of these vents look very familiar as well. Although this car has electric windows, which might have been a luxury back in 05. Not too sure nowadays though. I think this car still has the original stereo. If it does, that's fantastic, because they're probably very valuable nowadays. It's quite a nippy car, to be honest. I'm sure it doesn't weigh a lot. It's only got around 99 brake horsepower and 180 pounds-foot torque, which is quite a lot. Although that being said, it is a 1.9 TDI 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. The gearbox in this car, I don't know what it is, but it actually feels fantastic. Slips straight into gear, there's no movement about, there's not that much play. Great for a 15-year-old car. This car as well, since I've been driving it for the past 5-10 minutes, it's so small. It's not a big car. Nowadays, hatchbacks are getting bigger, and I don't think they should be. Hatchbacks should be like this: small, nimble, and you know, simple as well. So there you go, guys. That's the review of the 2005 Seat Ibiza 1.9 TDI. It's a long name, but we got there. It's certainly a car you could have fun in, and it's also different from a Corsa or Fiesta if you choose to buy it as your first car. Obviously though, you will have a complete different experience if you go for the petrol or diesel, as the 1.4 petrol, which was the other option you could go for, will behave completely different to the other engines. But I still don't think that should put you off from buying one.